Good morning. We are gathered here today on Treaty 6 territory. I also want to acknowledge the Métis people who share a deep connection with this land. I'm Rhiannon Hoyle, the MLA for Edmonton South and Alberta NDP Critic for Advanced Education. I'm joined here today by university students Haroon Ali and Arush Bhatt. The cost of living crisis has impacted every Albertan in some way. Families across this province have had to make difficult choices, often having to choose between necessities like groceries, car payments, school fees, and keeping a roof over their heads. For university students, these challenges are compounded. On top of basic necessities, the rising cost of tuition, additional fees, the lack of affordable housing options have put some students in a position where they have to compromise their dreams of attaining a good post-secondary education. There have been numerous stories in the media of students skipping meals, living out of their cars, choosing unsafe housing options because they cannot afford a place to live. And despite all these reports, the UCP government continues to ignore these students, their needs, and refuses to meaningfully support them with their education. The UCP has said they will freeze tuition next year, but that doesn't help the students struggling right now. And it certainly doesn't help any student when Alberta has seen the highest increases in tuition and fees in our country. This government's own financial projections confirm this. Alberta post-secondary students will be paying $104 million more in tuition than they did the year before. A month ago, there were 13,000 student loan applications in queue, waiting to be processed, compromising many students' ability to pay rent, put food on the table, and focus on their education. The Ministry of Advanced Education reported 4,000 additional applications for students this past year, which comes as no surprise to us. Yet, knowing there would be an increased demand, the UCP has failed to adequately fund the resources needed to process these applications. This has forced some students into dire situations towards private loans with interest rates that will only drive them into further debt. This is unacceptable. Student advocacy groups have told me that many students are considering withdrawing from their classes because they just simply cannot keep up while they wait for their loans to be processed. As of today, Alberta Student Aid is only processing applications submitted between September 14th and the 21st of 2023. Thousands of students are still waiting on this government to fulfill their commitment. Some might be quick to blame our post-secondary institutions, but the UCP cut over $700 million from their operating budgets, leaving universities, colleges, polytechnics no choice but to do more with less funding and on the backs of students. These cuts have also resulted in canceled programs, campus closures, staff layoffs, delayed repairs, and of course, steep tuition hikes. I would like to now invite Arush up to the mic to share how his education has been deeply impacted by these cuts.
Thank you, Rhiannon. Hi, everyone. I'm Arush. I'm currently pursuing a degree in computer science. I'm in my second year at the University of Alberta. I moved here a year ago from India, so I'm an international student because I was attracted to the excellent, reputation of U of A in machine learning research, which is kind of primarily where my interests lie. And I was also informed that supports in terms of finances and accessibility would be a lot better here in Canada as compared to back home, where they're pretty much non-existent, unfortunately. However, this past year has been extremely challenging in that regard because I had a scholarship for my first year, which I had hoped would sustain me until I was able to figure out other resources and supports. However, there was a tuition increase for the first year, and when considering the exchange rates, the cost of living, food and other expenses, and the fact that I just moved, I unfortunately was not able to keep up, and that caused me to move off campus. And I was also hoping to apply for scholarships every year so that I would get at least some portion of that tuition taken off. However, my university also failed to adapt most of my courses, causing me to lag behind academically. As an international student, I'm not eligible for most financial supports, and emergency funding to my university is very limited, very competitive. Due to this, the fact that I'm an international student, I have a different tuition model, which means that I have to finish my degree in a certain time frame. Otherwise, I'm required to pay extra for every additional course I take. And even though I know that I would have been able to keep up with the full course load, I am now lagging behind because of the lack of these resources. So I think, unfortunately, due to these financial challenges, these accessibility challenges, I'm currently in a position where I can fund my living and tuition for maybe a year more out of my pocket, but after which it's going to be incredibly challenging to do so, and I'm afraid I might not have a choice but to withdraw from my program and go back home, which is not something I would like to do. I'm very passionate about computer science and AI, and I'm fond of the universities and the opportunities that's offered, and would definitely like to continue my education. Thank you.
Thank you, Aruj, for sharing your story so wonderfully. I would like to now introduce you to Haroon Ali to come to the mic, please.
Thank you, Rhiannon. My name is Haroon Ali. I'm in my fourth year of political science at the University of Alberta. I'm a community organizer, activist, and former student leader. Affordability is on the top of mind for many students, including myself. As a student leader, I talk with students on a regular basis who are struggling with the crippling cost of post-secondary education. Government cuts have caused tuition to hike by almost 29%. It's making students choose elsewhere to study. In 2020, when I graduated from Lillian Osborne, I had my mind set on leaving Alberta. I had actually applied to the University of Victoria, I'd been accepted, and I'd been given a scholarship, so I was pretty excited to start down there. I ended up coming back to the University of Alberta, and now I'm in my fourth year of my degree there, but almost 4.5 years later, I'm now struggling to finish my degree due to the rising cost of my education. Student aid doesn't even cover the cost of living in some dorms on campuses, leaving students to come up with a shortfall themselves. For me, in that situation, I had to use a predatory payday loan company to afford the shortfall, causing me to take out this semester off to continue working and paying off this debt in the hopes of going back to school in the new year. When I started university, I wanted to serve my community as a lawyer fighting for criminal justice reform. With the rising costs, I don't know if that's a reality that I can attain anymore. Education shouldn't be this financially difficult. Allowing tuition to rise by nearly 30% at U Alberta over the past 4 years is a choice. It's not a necessity, but it's a choice by this government. It's a choice that is preventing young, brilliant people from working class families to get an education. It's a choice that not only prevents some, but also bankrupts those who are able to attain higher education in Alberta. I encourage the provincial government to increase grants and to work with post-secondary students to ensure Alberta remains a viable place for all students of all backgrounds to get an education. Thank you to the Alberta NDP for the opportunity to speak here today.
Thank you, Haroon, for sharing your story today. So as you can see, students relying on institutional supports can't succeed because of the decisions this UCP government has made. Students like Haroon and Arush, they deserve every opportunity to succeed. The UCP should be ashamed of turning its back on our future leaders and for compromising their future success. Students like Arush and Haroon and thousands of other students deserve better. The UCP needs to start listening to Albertans and prioritize their needs. This includes addressing the backlog in processing student loan applications and immediately capping tuition so that students aren't struggling to afford their basic needs. Thank you, and I'll happily answer questions.
Thank you. Just a reminder to those on Zoom, it's the raise hand function to get in the question queue. If you're on the phone, it's *9. Seeing none, that concludes our press conference for today. Thank you.